Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. I wanted to say to you that um, if you are doing any kind of spiritual work, if you are in any kind of introspective path, and what's happening around the world is not a concern for you, then say there's something emotionally wrong with you. Rapid changes are taking place in all levels, meaning on inner life, and also the our emotional relationship to others, in political, social, cultural, and all kinds of other ways. Things are being confrontational, and we are being forced to make choices, and it's happening in all realms. And in a way, this is a good thing because it's the way that we're going to select a path into the new earth. Uh, but those choices are going to determine where we're going to go. And I have said this before, not everyone is going to the same place. There are people who are going to realms that are of lower vibration, while others are going to the realm of higher vibration. And it's not just a polarization or a bifurcation. It's not just about two things. There's an array of choices that needs to be made. For example, a hedonistic future, a xenophobic future, a future where it's a patchwork to try to fix the existing 3D reality and somehow let it wobble in some sort of quasi-functionality. There is one that's might be deeply evolving and spiritual. There's another one that's the AI and the enhanced reality, where people are going to be inserted with AI or enhanced chips or be connected somehow to machine learning. There are all kinds of things that are happening that are not on the same track. There's the divergence. We're moving toward the divergence. Now, having said this, we need at this moment, for those of us who consider ourselves to be light workers or to be on the path of service to try to share the peace and the serenity that we know with the world, we need to be much more introspective than we were before. We need to begin to think about what's happening in our core. We talked about this for the last few sessions that we did, the last few trainings. How do you examine your core? We talked about breath control, breath work. And I wanted to tonight to talk about the broadcast. Now, once you have achieved a certain level of peace and serenity, let's assume for a moment that you've made your choice. You have, through hard work, through the path that I've showed you, which is the uh, uh, Melchizedek ascension path of neutrality. Suppose that you have selected, you've made all the right choice. At some point, you're going to have a sense of serenity within your own self. Your core is going to be at rest. You're going to be in a place where you, when you go in the morning and you do your 10-minute check to see what your core feels like, meaning your antakarana, your chakra column going from the 3D reality all the way back to God. When you go in and you check that core, by the way, the other term for it, the two other terms for it, antakarana and also rainbow bridge. So when you do that check, uh, you're going to get to a point where you're going to feel you're at rest. Everything feels aligned. Everything feels good. You don't have any, it doesn't feel like there is an internal battle or there is any struggle that's happening in that call. Now, when you're in that state of consciousness, how do you communicate this to others? Or should you communicate it at all with others? Now, we are not, no man is an island. We are all interconnected. My torsion field, as it extends from me, overlaps with the torsion field of my neighbors. And we all, through our amygdala in our limbic system, through the network called the mirror neuron, we are communicating with each other. We are constantly dialoguing. And it's all bypassing all the five senses. And we sense, feel, and know what others are feeling through what a lot of psychologists who've studied this for years call social intelligence. So through the social intelligence, you may sense and feel a neighbor is in distress. You may sense and feel that the world is not in a good place. And you may choose, because of this, to curate what kind of exposure you're allowing your consciousness, you're feeding your consciousness. I see a lot of people, friends, light workers, and people that I know who are busy sending me videos and links of conspiracy theory thing, people who are calling themselves prophet, who are predicting doom. It's not that I'm adverse to a prophet talking honestly, a real channel, and talking, because I've seen part of the future. And I know that there's things that are coming that are terrifying. So I'm not adverse to this. But there's a lot of people who are talking about crazy stuff, okay? And you can tell because a lot of it from whatever mass media platform they're using, the title and everything else is true. It's clickbait. It's to attract somebody to click on it. And they are not delivering anything substantial or anything real for that matter. And I can determine very quickly by looking at them. But a lot of times these things take my consciousness on a sidetracked it and put it on a different path, as if a dog was looking at squirrel. I got distracted, squirrel, squirrel, and I'm not paying attention. And if there's enough of these distractions, and particularly if you're using Google or any mass media platform or TikTok, you're searching these things. You watch one, that algorithm from that platform will deliver you another 25 to 30. And before you know it, you've watched 15, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of that stuff, and your consciousness is completely shifted somewhere else. It's not no longer in alignment. And if you check your core again, your core is in the same place. So it's important for us to mind the kind of diet that we're feeding our soul. We should be very aware, at least I know I am, that there are certain things. People send me things all the time. I look at the title, and I begin to maybe watch the first 2 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is not for me. I click it off. I don't need to watch this. This has no value for me, right? And so it's important for us to understand this and to feed our consciousness the right diet so that we are not creating subconscious traumas, because these conspiracy theory and these fears are doing nothing more than inflate panic and causes our emotional body to become agitated and opening back doors through which dark principalities can penetrate and begin to inflate our emotional reaction into something we don't want and something that doesn't belong to us. So I'm saying this because I want you to be very careful, because once you have achieved a certain level of that peace and that serenity, as I was talking about just before, you don't want to lose it because you're being curious, because someone posted something out and you need to see it. A lot of my student clients and family members who are doing this, or I'm just curious, I just want to see. Curiosity is the worst of sin as far as this particular situation is concerned. By looking at it and you think, I have the filter, I have the lens. No, you don't have the lens because I've watched these people who are close to me who've done this. You watch it enough, your character begin to change. The way you interact now with friends and family member becomes a lot angrier, a lot more agitated. You're not conscious of it. But to us who are on the outside watching you, you're becoming much more agitated and you're becoming a lot more upset over trivialities and things that are inconsequential. So what I'm saying is that we should be very careful with the diet that we're feeding ourselves in terms of trying to maintain, because we're empath and we're socially connected to each other through social intelligence. We should be very careful. It's a good thing that I am connected to everyone, and my amygdala is communicating with everyone else's amygdala, and because it's a two-way street, meaning that I can easily pick up emotionally where someone else is at the moment, someone I care for. But on the flip side, they can also pick up where I'm standing. What am I feeling? If they're intuitive enough. By the way, this is the way a psychic or medium can pick up things from you. This is the way they read you. Unless you've created a shield, there's a way with the torsion field to create a shield to close all your boundaries and not allow any communication to be released from you. There are times when I'm going in certain places, that's what I do, because I don't want to be read. Like if in New York City, there's a New Life Expo that every year, and I haven't gone in years, but the first time I went, it was the most invasive thing that I've ever walked into, because it's several floors, booths. Everyone you walk in front of their booth, they are trying to read you without consent. I'm not even asking them to read me. So I did the torsion field around me, and I asked the guardian to shut everybody out, because I don't need to feel anybody else for that period of time, or for that matter, I don't need them to read me. So you can control it. So having said this, there are times where having received the permission of someone else, I can learn how to broadcast. Let's say I am in peace and I'm in serenity, and I'm enjoying a moment of unbelievable bliss. I was sharing right before we started recording with the community that for the past 2 days, this is the state that I'm in. I am in a state of deep and profound rest, as if every molecule in my body has been perfectly oiled and everything is working perfectly. And when you're in a state like this, you feel so at rest, and you enter, at least I do, I enter into a state of some deep gratitude for the gift received that I desire to share with others the peace, the serenity, and the liberation that I know. How do you do this? Again, you need permission. You're not gonna, okay, 2 things. You cannot do a healing for somebody specifically. Let's say, for example, person has a headache or something's happened with their knee or their back. If you don't have consent, this is why when somebody tell me, pray for my mother or my cousin or all that, I'm like, you need to tell your cousin I'm going to pray for them. When they tell you yes, then I can pray. I need to have permission for specific things. But let's say, for example, the way I'm feeling now, I feel so liberated, and I feel I'm in a state of awe over the ease and the alignment that I feel in my core. and I would desire to share that love with the world, love is, and I can release the broadcast of this, okay? Because love is something that we can share with anyone. Permission or no permission, you can share love. Because if the person is in a different frequency, since it is a broadcast, you're not trying to brainwash them into your alignment. It's not a violation. It's not a rape. I've shared that with you before, that a lot of times when you're reading somebody, okay, there's a difference between a broadcast and trying to read someone. A broadcast is a wave, a release of a wave from your heart and your core and your soul and your intention that is released from you as a desire for others to join you in the liberation, in the freedom that you're enjoying, okay? Whereas when somebody reads you without consent, what they are doing is a psychic violation and rape. It would be to the effect of a woman walking down the street and me walking behind them and trying to lift their skirt to look under their skirt. It's a violation because typically speaking, when somebody is doing a reading without consent, they are being tactical. They are trying, it's psychic spying. They are doing it with the intention of getting data and information from you so that they can have one up on you. It's a top dog survival mechanism. Whereas what I'm talking about with the broadcast is the exact opposite of that. It comes from love. And it's about radiating from your heart. Okay? It's an act of generosity. It's a radiation. It's also an attraction, because when you radiate out like this and you broadcast it, it also, because it comes from love, it will echo something back to you. And when that arrives, it will change you and transform you. There will be added value to what you already know, to what you're already broadcasting and what you already sensed. So it's very different than if you were trying to psychically spy and trying to get tactical information to find if this person has good energy or bad energy. So it's a very, very different thing to radiate that kind of love out, as opposed, or that kind of broadcast out, as opposed to someone who is tactically trying to spy on you and trying to discover your secrets. Okay? So, any questions, any comments so far? Because I've said quite a bit.
Thank you, Pierre. If we could just say this, so radiating whatever the peace, neutrality, rest that you have does impact the collective consciousness, and it is not something that you're consciously doing, so it must be influencing others, but doesn't need permission, correct?
Yes, it doesn't need, right, because we are influencing each other anyway through the amygdala. No one is an island. We're all interconnected.
Yes.
We're not separated, okay? Although we're sentient beings and we have the right of choice, but the thing to remember about the broadcast, everyone in the entire universe, when you release the broadcast, let's say I release a broadcast for myself, everyone in the entire universe has the right to tune it out. Just because you release it, it doesn't mean you're obligating someone to fall under your spell. You're not coding people. Do you understand? There's a huge difference. In French, there is a difference between a hypnotist and what they call a magnétiseur. A hypnotist is someone that induces you with consent And by repetition of certain things, gestures, staring, etc., puts you under a trance to allow you, but it's with your consent. A magnetiseur is someone that uses their own charismatic magnetic torsion field influence to dominate your consciousness and cause you to fall under the spell. And it was named after a physician, a doctor that was called Mesmer. He was originally from Austria, and he discovered correctly the magnetic field, human magnetic field, was very powerful. And he did some incredible things. When he was moved into the courts in Paris, and he had in the salon where he was doing these scenes, and he would just snap his finger and people would fall to the ground. All these society women, all these noble people would start shaking and trembling. And mesmerizing came as a verb coming directly from Mesmer, from him as a person. He died discredited because no other person could repeat what he was doing. And everybody said it was a hoax. It was not a hoax. That power actually exists, but that's not what we're doing here. We're broadcasting, which means we are, it's sent out from kindness and generosity. And everyone has the right of refusal. It doesn't compel. Does that make any sense, Janice?
And what I would, yes, and what I would guess is that the opposite, that is the spying that is without permission, comes with a truckload of karma as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what happened is that when you psychically spy on people, this is why I met people who were, years ago, I met this woman who was an asset, a psychic spy that was an asset for the US government. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I remember because she used to do this, professionally, and they paid her a lot of money to do this. And she was good at it. She could locate, anybody by giving them just a little bit of information or whatever. But there are certain things, aspect of what she was doing that was exactly that. It was tactical to get information to even, basically they weaponized her. And this is something I was giving that choice at some point in the past, and I refused it. I said, absolutely not. And the promise came with a lot of money, so trust me. Okay. And I refused it. I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is not, and part of it, it's because when you do this, and I've met people who are so-called empaths, who are constantly feeling like they are soiled by other people's negative energy. What they are doing in most cases is that in past life, these individuals were probably persecuted, and because of the torture and the ordeal that they experienced, they developed their psychic ability as a way to try to survive and defend themselves, to find safe places and places where danger existed. And it became now so deeply ingrained and unconscious, they're not realizing they're doing this. So a lot of, and I've helped people who were like this return back into the right path, meaning stop psychic spying. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's a lot of work because there's a lot of subconscious stuff that's all happening coming from past lives, right? So you have to go so deep and be so honest with yourself, asking yourself, am I scanning? Because what they're doing is that they're scanning all the time. So, and when you scan like this, what you do is that you're projecting your consciousness to sense what's good, what's bad, what's negative. Am I being threatened? Is everything safe? As you do this, the people whose space or the individuals whose space that you're invading they have their defense mechanism because you're raping and violating them on an energetic level. They will strike back. They will attack you. And it's a normal reaction. As I said, the analogy of men walking down the street behind a woman and trying to lift their skirt. The moment that happened, the woman will turn around and try to kick you in your groin or try to beat you up because you violated them. So it's a simple way to try to understand energetically, because what happened to all these people who are empath? Oh my God, negative energy, this stuff is all over me. It's inside of me. It's what, when they're saying this, what they are feeling, they initiated by scanning first.
Oh.
Do you understand? They initiated, the scanning is you attacking first. And then the person you did this to, you then kick back. There's a response. And the response, then all of a sudden they're claiming, I'm a victim. You're not a victim. You're scanning.
Do you think some of them are doing this unconsciously?
Completely unconsciously, the majority of them. Say something, 85% of them are doing this unconsciously.
I know there are many reasons that might go into an aversion to an individual, but sometimes we sense we just don't feel right in someone's company, and maybe that's it.
And you need to listen to this. So if you're neutral and you're around somebody and you feel, I'm not safe here, I need to step out, step out. Listen to it. That's your amygdala. The amygdala is trying to keep you protected. It's not the same thing as scanning. Scanning is literally to get tactical information so that you can have the upper hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very different.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay? Yeah. And if you're not scanning, then it's fine. If you're getting an insight, I should move. I should not do this. I should not travel this week. I should wait till next week. Listen to what the amygdala is trying to tell you. Because you're receiving broadcasts for a reason. We communicate with each other for a reason. And sometimes it's God trying to communicate to you. Be careful. But the scanning is something else. And when you're trying to broadcast, it's a conscious effort to send to others the love, the serenity, and the peace that you know. Okay. And I'm going to put a caveat on this, another caveat, another qualifier on this. We have to be very careful that when we're saying we're trying to share with others the love that we know, that we are not trying to control others to follow our playbook. Meaning by that, that old saying, if the world were to do exactly what I think, the world would be a great place. Some of us tend to control everything. And that desire to control and that desire to can drive, can make us insufferable to the people that are around us. To my friends, my family members, etc., if I tell you something 3 times, I'm not telling you anymore. Unless you ask me. I'm not telling you anymore because I become a nag. I become a person that's impossible to be around. Because it's clear if I told you 3 times, you didn't pay attention to me and you're not doing it, you're not going to do it. You're choosing, and maybe I am right in the long run. Maybe what it is that you're trying to warn me about, you're correct in warning me. But maybe my karma is that I need to learn it, instead of learning it by listening to you, by grace, I need to learn it by karma. I need to fall into the pit, and the only way I'm going to learn the lesson is by being dragged by karma into a major struggle so that I can truly say, aha, I got it. And moreover, you who is trying to control everything and thinking it's coming from love, camouflaging your control issue with covering it with a band-aid of love, a lot of times when you're doing this, you end up interfering with the administration of the karma of someone else, be it a friend or a family member or somebody that you love. When they have to learn something and they have to learn it by karma, you have to step away. Even though you see it, you have to walk away. You have to be non-attached enough to say, I've told them 3 times, they're not listening. They need to learn it on their own. Let me step back. I will say no more. And you will watch them fall. You will watch them get hurt. And at that point, all you do is that you're still sending them love, saying, you're strong enough. Unconsciously, you don't have to say it. You're strong enough. You're choosing the path of karma. You're strong enough. I wish you the best of luck. May God be with you. And let them learn it. And when they learn it, they will master it. And then they come back to you. I can't believe blah, blah, blah. And they're telling you exactly what you told them. You don't have to go back and say, I've been telling you this for the past 4 years, 5 years. Don't say nothing. Just smile. It's okay. You don't need to be right. You need to be supportive. And you need to understand that if you are inserting yourself between the knowledge that you have from being an outsider, looking at them, and their karma, if you insert in yourself, the karma that they had to experience, you will take it on your shoulder. The damage that they were experiencing, the damage becomes yours now. A lot of time I see clients, and I've shared with a few clients of mine of recent time, particularly with what's going on around the world, with all the rapid changes and all that. A lot of my clients that I see who are struggling, the karma is not theirs. When I'm in coaching session with them, intuitively, I'm beginning to sense that it's not your karma. You're picking up family members and friends' karma, and because you're busy trying to thinking it's coming from love, you're going to try to help them. You're not helping them by trying to tell them and standing for them all the time. They have to learn to stand on themselves. Don't keep giving them fish. Teach them how to fish and walk away, and let them learn how to fish. And maybe the first few times they got nothing, and eventually they will learn how to fish. So we have to be very careful to see the desire that we call love, the broadcast and the radiation can be contaminated by all these things I've just mentioned, including our desire to control. And if you're realizing that you're too control oriented and and you know, I'm going to tell you how to recognize if it's your desire trying to impose on other people. If all the time you're complaining about your friends and your family members and the fact that they are not doing what you told them to do, and she's not, and he's not doing, and blah, 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 and you're complaining about it and you're upset over it, you're foaming at the mouth over it, the problem is yours. You're trying to control how quickly they learn the lesson. They are not learning it fast enough according to your version of the way the universe is supposed to function. The same way God was able to reach you, God is also capable of reaching them too. But the timing that God does it in is none of your business. You have to trust God. And you have to allow whatever timing that God wants for them to learn, because we're all going to get it. So why are you so attached to the outcome that you must? So when I broadcast and I radiate something from my heart, and I surrender it, when I let it go and I let it go, whether it's directed toward one person or toward the entire planet, because right now the planet could use some kind, positive, loving, aligned, and spiritually benevolent thoughts and radiation and broadcast. We are collectively walking on a razor's edge. And we could use that kind of like kindness. And if you're broadcasting it and you're non-attached to the time frame in which this is supposed to happen, If you're doing it and you're trying to direct the hand of God, you're broadcasting and for a person or for an intention for the planet or certain region, war against war, trying to create peace or whatever it is that you're trying to uh, your intention is, and you're directing it specifically, and you have in your head an entire way, this A need to happen, and then B, and sub C, sub D, and then F. And if you have all of that mapped out, you're controlling. This is not a broadcast. You're writing a script. It's not a broadcast. A broadcast is an abstract thought, like peace to the world, or something like give me safe passage, or something very broad and very abstract, but strongly and powerfully felt from an internal, visceral understanding of that feeling and emotion. And then you release it into the world. You broadcast it out of generosity, out of kindness, unconditional love, and compassion for the world. And you release it. And so that detachment or that non-attachment to outcome, once your broadcast is released, is the key. It's a non-attachment to outcome. I'm going to tell you the information. Whether you apply it or not is none of my business. But from my heart and from the peace and the serenity that I know, and from my core where I feel such expansion at this moment, I'm going to release the frequency and the vibration of that freedom into your grid and into the grid of the planet. And I'm going to let you negotiate with God how quickly you can get into that frequency. It's just a reminder, because a lot of time when people are caught in a very specific spiritual conundrum, whether it is internal or in between family members or between nations, when they are caught in it, they cannot see or they don't remember that there are other choices. By me radiating it out, or by a group of us coming together, radiating that intention out from our core, from having liberated ourselves from and shifting into a different frequency. When we radiate it out suddenly, you remind people there is a different choice. You can do something else. What seemed black and white to you, all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of other gray area and other colors as a response to what appeared to be other, like a seesaw. Any questions, any comments?
I'm thinking about what you said at the very beginning tonight. If you're aware of what is happening in the world and are not, what did you say, not impacted by it, something is wrong with you?
No.
And that may not be your exact words. And yet here we're talking about being unattached to the outcome, aware but unattached. That's a delicate balance. And I'm wondering how you could blend the two that you said. If you're not impacted, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the key to this is that we're all human beings and we're imperfect. And as such, we're going to be triggered by these big global events. Because what we're witnessing globally is planetary karma. 9 billion of us are choosing to experience this collectively. Okay? Therefore, initially when these events occur, you and I are going to be triggered emotionally to perform and to get inflated by the outcome or whatever the situation may be. But by doing our spiritual practice work, by doing our emotional intelligence work, by doing the Dantian and the query and all of the things I've taught you, what's going to happen is that over a period of time, you're going to be shifted into something else. You're gonna reestablish a stronger foundation that's gonna guide you to an inner peace and serenity that will let you know that that trigger was a teacher. That emotional reaction taught me and revealed to me a fragmentation in my consciousness that I was not even conscious was there. And therefore, it's serving me now because it's going to make me stronger. So after doing enough of this, you're going to get to a point where you're going to be realizing that through these all the choices that I have made, remember I talked about choice before, that there are multiple paths and there are choices. So the choices that I have made over the past 5 years, I am now becoming stronger. Okay? And because I'm becoming stronger and wiser, and I become more healed, I am gonna now give the same grace and the same what's the word I'm looking for? The same choice to other people so that they too can go to the inner struggle that they need to go through to arrive at the same conclusion that I did. This is where the non-attachment comes in. I have to give them the right to choose. Instead of me being attached to the outcome and saying, they need to learn this quickly, they need to learn. I mean, of course, I would love to split your head and put all that information in like immediately. But that's not the way you're going to learn. You would not own it. So what needs to happen is that there is an initial struggle about choices that needs to happen. You getting the world falling apart, you reacting to it, and then you finding the medium ground, you finding that what appeared to be like a catastrophic event end up teaching you something so valuable about yourself that your connection to spirit becomes stronger. And every event like this creates a stronger connection. Over time, you're going to like, my God, every one of these things were for my benefit. Therefore, I have to give somebody else the grace. I don't need to warn them and keep telling them, don't do this, move this way. I don't need to edit them. I don't need to censor them. I can give them general guidance, and I'm like, okay, go to it. Because nobody can grow for anyone else. So when I am non-attached, what I'm saying is that I cannot grow for you. Therefore, I'm giving you the ability to choose for yourself the path that you're going to follow. Does that make any sense, Janice?
Yes, of course it does. And what I was still reflecting about was back to what you said about the global events. If you're not triggered by them, something is wrong with you. Maybe it's not the global events that trigger one, at least because it always feels more outside of you, more distant, but it could be more close or personal things that trigger you. Anyway, I think the bottom line that I'm gathering from this is that the triggering is part of your growth process. So you should look for any areas that make you reactive, and if it's not the global things. I mean, one can maintain a certain distance, I suppose, in those things. So maybe nothing is wrong with you is exactly there, except maybe you should be, maybe you should be triggered by them. Um, Maybe you should look to be triggered by them so that you can explore internal faults within yourself.
Yes, Janice. The it, I agree with you that the trigger is actually for your benefit, but remember that and individuals, again, it's out of love and compassion for others and for everybody else who have free choice that you have to allow them to do whatever it is that they need to do. And you and I are not going to learn the same way. What may be right for Janice may not be right for Pierre. Okay? So, and the triggers and how the triggers happen, some people will be triggered about external event. Other people are going to be triggered about a personal loss. It doesn't matter how you are triggered. It's the emotional reaction you have to the trigger. This is
Okay,
where the lesson is.
got it. Thank you.
Understand? Yeah.
That clarified. Thank you.
It's not about, what's happening in Ukraine or in Israel and Hamas. It's not about the big thing. Sometimes it's something in your life. It's how you're dealing with a friend or a family member, an internal fight, and why can't they understand blah blah blah, but how you react to it becomes the key.
I got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kind of segue, Pierre and Janice. I had something unusual happen to me this week in a row. A good thing, because I've been having to be very close to home with the hole to my bone in my jaw. But I was trying to select to go and enjoy the spring activities in the desert a little bit because the heat could once it comes upon us. So it was like a shift from something that just the energy was so, yeah, like it didn't feel good. Like, because I've been working on not being an empath, not scanning unless it's okay for so long. It like was just like a feels like don't go there. I think I mentioned I was invited to a sing along, and a dear friend who's the wife of the sing along person, the gentleman, was in such a tizzy about controlling it all. And when I got there, the room had a bad odor, and I just knew I wasn't meant to be there. And there's limited things to do out here, though there are things to do, but very unique, limited. So I decided to just go over to Marshall's in the next town to the spring sale, just simple, very simple. And when I was there, I heard someone speaking French. As you know, I'm part French. And I met a lovely lady who could have been my sister. We look so much alike. And her husband is a Netflix producer. A lot of people from LA have come to live out here in our desert. Well, that's the field I'm in. And, but I'm living in the middle of nowhere, haven't been pursuing contacts or colleagues or any of that. Well, of all things, she found the background of my family in New Orleans so interesting. She called her husband in South Africa, and when they come back in a half year when it's cooler, they want to look about doing a series with me. It just boop fell in my hand, not saying I'll do it or not, but so the other night, last night, I was coming back from also running an errand. It was already over 100 in Palm Springs, and I came by the plaza in the little bitty town I'm in, and it was the first time they've had an international festival, and it was all with the students. I felt like I was in the New Earth. I said, okay, I think I'm a little tired, but I'll go out and I'll go walk around because I'm someone who's not afraid of being on my own or alone with people. And it was so beautiful.
Mm,
under the stars at night.
mm,
And we're very multicultural out here because it's a lot of the people who come to work at the Marine base, or because we're on one of the last places you can get a decent place to live in California within some kind of budget. Well, there were people, the children from the school, high school, came and they did it it was their club that put this huge event on. So first we had the Filipino ethnic dance at a break, then we had the Samoan, then we had the Vietnamese, and then we had the Hawaiian, and then we had the Filipino. And all the food was from all these wonderful places and under the stars with these wonderful smells. And the dancing was incredible. And in between it, all the little children of all nationalities were on the stage just to like Bob Marley and happy music, just having a blast.
mm-hmm.
And they were a kick. They were just all letting it all out, like hundreds of little children. And I was just standing there, and someone said, "Kit, Kit," and it looked over, and I saw a very pretty lady, but wasn't quite sure who she was because turns out it's the lady who's the cleaning lady at the Marine Corps Exchange where I've been was working, and she usually wears a mask. So I didn't recognize. Oh, I said, "Is it you, CC?" She said, "Yes, I don't have my mask on. Come sit with us. Come join the Filipino group." And so I did. We just had a lovely, lovely night. It was one of the happiest nights of my life, actually. And it's so heartwarming. And what the lady said, "Well, you're not alone, kid. We just live over there." And I said, "And I just live over here." And well, the other lady bought me a little soft drink, to drink. I asked her at the end because the music was so loud, "What is your name?" Well, her name was Tita. This is what's amazing. My sister-in-law is named Cece, and my children's godmother, my cousin, is Tita. So I sat with Cece and Tita.
Yeah. In Filipino, tita mean aunt.
Yeah, right, and my not to be rude about them, but my New York sister-in-law Tita, sister-in-law Cece, and my New York aunt Tita, they I can't handle being around them. They think I'm really out the box. What is Kit doing? She's become a full-fledged flower child. It's like, and they're very sarcastic in between things. They keep saying, "Look, I'm the person who loves you. Could you just be kind? Let's have a nice moment together."
Yeah.
And so it was really amazing how spirit just manifested this happy togetherness.
I'm
Because
happy. I'm so happy for you, kid. I'm happy that that you're meeting new people and more kind, loving people. And
yeah,
it's a reflection of the work that you're doing and walking away from. The
yeah, it also made me think about because I often wonder, because I'm so nervous at times about like having left New Orleans and then my family and the whole bit so extreme that they're not being accepted, etc. Wonder is it going to be me and Janice and Pierre on some planet to a world? you
Oh,
know,
I don't think it's going to be just us.
you know, you
But
know,
I'll be honest with you. If it was just us, then that's fine as well. I, I'm I'm not
I often
turning, I'm not concerned about this. And here is the thing about non-attachment. Let's go back over this because this is a perfect example to illustrate this point. Uh, the more concerned you are about getting accepted by people, or the more concerned you are about the fact that other individuals are not following your advice, and you're constantly agitated over the fact that they're not listening, they're not hearing you, you're not being accepted, and also you have attachments.
Yeah, in fact, this may be a manifest. This I finally just gave up. In the last 2 months, I finally just said, I just give up.
Yeah.
They accept me or they don't, but they know I love them. I'm just going to mind my own business. can't go there anyway. Every time I try to go to New Orleans, something bizarre happens, like it floods 6 feet. And so I just said to myself, that's been there, done that. And yet this was like very reassuring because it's my vision of what the new world is like with the young people and their traditions. It was just such an exquisite evening. I felt like I had entered the new world. I really did.
Wonderful. I'm happy for you.
And I'm happy for all of us
Yes.
because young people, I think they are really aware. I mean, we know this with the ones with the Earth movement and everything. They're very distressed. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad they're trying to do something with their cultures and with the goodness to stop this, to have a good spirit here. So I hope this
What we
reassures.
should what we should look out for as a lesson from all this, and this is for all of us, your attachment to people, places, and things is telling you that you're getting distracted by squirrels. They're not important because they are not, if anything, they're going to distract you from the new earth. And the more attachment, the stronger you're trying to get somebody to accept you or to listen to you or to hear you or to do exactly what you tell them to do, the more you're this way and you're doing this, the more that you are on the wrong path. And what you should do, because the way a broadcast and a true broadcast goes out, is that once you radiate it out, there is no attachment. You choose to accept it or to refuse it. The choice is yours. And you just let it go. I often, when I'm trying to teach people how to do remote healing and how to set intention, I use the analogy of throwing a rock into a lake. You have to throw the rock all the way in and let it out and release it. It has to fly out of your hand. You have to release it. So your attachment to the outcome, to the people, to what they think about you, to them accepting you or not accepting you, has to be completely released and out of your hand. And once it happens, that's when the miracle occurs. They will either receive the broadcast or at this point, the universe will respond with a solution set that will accommodate everyone involved, including you.
Well, it also partially reminds me of that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher is there.
Yeah.
That it's more like a magnetic field, for lack of a better word, or valence electrons, or just, and, just the energy itself working, not the person, the ego of the person,
Yeah.
or the negative ego. It's just a transmission, like you said.
Every time I have an attachment to something and I'm foaming at the mouth, I'm upset and I'm going, I don't catch it all the time initially. But by the second day when I'm doing this, I'm beginning to say to myself, wait a minute, this is a mirror. I'm attached to this. It's because there is a deficiency in me. There's something in me that's trying to control this. And I'm then begin to query myself about this situation that's happening in my life right now. And this is a key question, whether it's a family related or externally related or to an external event. As I'm getting attached about this and I'm worried about this, that, or the other, what the feeling that I'm feeling, being upset and being agitated by it, by whatever that it is, what emotional need that I have in me that this feeling is trying to fulfill or circumvent.
Mm-hmm. That goes with that morphogenic listening, right?
Yes, and whatever that is, that's the key. You have now to find, you're trying to fulfill that need with a crutch, with a handicap, by focusing externally on something. Now you need to ask God now for an ascended and spiritually complete way to fulfill the need in you. And the moment that happens, you will stop being attached to what's outside, whether it's family members or friends, or whether it is something happening in the world, you will stop being attached to it. Because guess what? The more attached you are to it, and this is the truth of truth, the things that you're obsessed about, that you keep watching, let's say on videos, on the news, that you keep listening to, whether it's a war conflict, and you keep watching and watching all the time, you're attached to it because that's why you keep watching it. It's not curiosity. It's an attachment. If you're saying it's curiosity, you're lying to yourself. It's an attachment. And that attachment, if you keep holding it, you're going to reincarnate with the people and the conditions in the next life to repeat it again. Who wants to do that? I certainly don't. I don't want to come back and deal with this same nonsense again.
Yeah.
So when I see these things presenting themselves in front of me, I'm at that point, I'm like, here's an opportunity for me to do something else. When I finally figured, I'm being perfectly candid with you. I don't catch it on the fly. I often, it takes me several hours, if not a day or two. And then finally I'm like, okay, it's a mirror. I'm upset about this, or I'm being obsessive with this because I keep watching this. I keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm watching this because there is something in me. There is a need that I have in me that is not being met. What is that need? And the moment I get it, I get the need, I'm like, okay, now God, show me a way to fulfill that need from you, not from anything outside.
That's like in AA, or when they say we surrender to the higher power.
Step number 3, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Step 3, realize that your addiction is greater than you and surrender it into your higher power.
Yeah, it's amazing how many addictions cover up anxiety,
Yeah.
and whatever others, issues. I find the Jin Chen is, of course, this seems to be the tool that, and for me, healing cellular pain.
Yeah.
Well, for all of us.
Any other questions or comments? So, what my hope tonight is for you to straddle or to understand the difference between scanning somebody and learning really what a real broadcast is. When the peace and the serenity and an intention that comes from deep love is released as an unconditional frequency and vibration from your heart. There is no attachment to it, because a lot of time we do healing for people and we send things out and we expect when they receive it, they are supposed to do X, Y, Z. When you release the broadcast, you have no expectation that the person is supposed to go back to you and say this, that, or the other, or do X, Y for you, or give you a benefit from it. You just release the broadcast. That's what a broadcast really is. It's unconditional. It doesn't come with condition. This is what real love looks like. Because most of us we talk about love all the time, but most of us love conditionally. It's love that is connected to a performance. When I do this for you, I expect you to do this and that for me. When you broadcast like this, it's conditional love and you will always be disappointed. Whereas if the intention is released and it comes from that place that's unconditional, the peace, the serenity, the love that you know, the kindness, you're radiating it to the world. You're trying to say to the world, there is a different choice. And I'm releasing the serenity that I know. And one of the words, one of the sentences I keep repeating, and I've shared this with you before, when I am in the final state of releasing to the world and broadcasting in prayer or in meditation, as I release it to the world, I repeat the simple sentence. And I think about first where it's coming from. I go into my core and the peace, the serenity that I know, and the liberation that I know, I think about it and what I'm feeling at the moment. And I literally take a deep breath and I say to myself silently, may the peace, the serenity, and the liberation that I know pass on to everyone on earth. And as I exhale, I release it. Like I'm throwing a rock into a pool of water. I completely release it with no attachment, no expectation. I release it. That's a broadcast. That's entrainment. I don't expect anything in return. Any questions, any comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. It is as if you were perceiving the world, seeing the world, knowing the world. From your heart space. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. If me, my family, and my ancestors had hurt you, your family, or your ancestors, since the beginning of creation until now, by thoughts, by deeds, by words, by actions, by inactions, Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Become aware of a blinding point of light that exists in your heart space. Pulsating, vibrating light, able to take any shape that it wants, shining brighter and brighter. Pulsating, vibrating light, able to take any shape that it wants, doubling in size with every breath that you're taking. Pulsating, vibrating light, able to take any shape that it wants, encompassing now your entire chest cavity. Pulsating, vibrating light, able to take any shape that it wants. Now expanding to encompass your entire being. We call forth Mother Mary, Lady Kuan Yin, the Divine Mother, and all aspects of the Divine Feminine. To radiate in us and in our heart space their love, their unconditional compassion, mercy, acceptance, and gratitude. Beloved female masters and Divine Feminine and Dakinis, burn in me the flame of your love and release me from all attachments, hoarding, control, and obligation that comes with scanning I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. May I know the expansion, the elevation, the mercy, the grace, and the humility of a merger with God. In my core, and Antakarana, only freedom and liberation exists. I am non-attached to everything. Lord, liberate me from all attachments. Bring in my heart your joy, your mercy, your compassion, and your unconditional love, and the cosmic liberation that frees everything. May I be expanded into the blessed field, and may infinity times infinity merge with my heart space, and may the vast and infinite expression, love, and grace of the circle whose circumference is everywhere and whose center is nowhere, take me into the throne room of God. May the celestial host that inhabits these higher realms gift us their infinite wisdom and the vibrational and frequency of true freedom. Lord, I ask for the entrainment of this love, of this frequency and vibration. May your generosity, your freedom, your compassion be broadcast to the entire planet through me. May the peace, the serenity, and the liberation that I know pass on to everyone on earth. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was deep, profound.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so happy for the shift.
Yes. It leaves a very light feeling, cleansed, free. Hard to put into words.
Yes, 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 exactly. Beautiful, beautiful. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. Thank you, family. If you're listening to us in YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. On Patreon, I want to thank you for your support, and I will talk to you next week. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Pierre. God bless you, Janice. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Marjorie.
Love you all.
Thank you. Love you too.